Alright y'all, welcome back to the channel and to some more buckshot testing, and today we've got another combo that a number of you guys requested for us to try, and I'm definitely curious to see what it can do as well, since we've only tested this choke a couple times on the channel so far, and it has shown promise, but I don't think we've really found what it really does well with yet. So maybe today's shell combo might be that ticket, but we'll see what happens. As for the shells we're going to be running, I brought out some more of the Winchester Super X buckshot loads, but these ones are the 12 gauge 3-inch 15 pellet double aught loads, moving about 10 feet per second. We've tested our fair share of 2 3/4 9 pellet, but we haven't done a ton of testing with a 3-inch 15 pellet load. But from what we have seen, it's a pretty decent performing shell if you put it through a decent choke anyway. So we'll see how it does through today's setup. But as for today's setup, you guys wanted to see me run it through the Remington 870. So this is a standard Remington 870. It's got a 24-inch barrel on it. It does have a Hawk Vantage scope on top, which we've been using a lot for slug testing, but it will be perfectly fine for today's test as well. But as for that choke, we've got a Carlson's Buckshot choke in here. I know it's a brilliant name from Carlson's, but it's just literally called the Buckshot choke. It's a 700 constriction, and they advertise it as a full choke, and mathematically, that may be correct. 700 is technically supposed to be a full choke. In some brands and some models of shotgun, that is true. In Remingtons, I have found their stock full chokes to run much closer to the 690 range. So in a Remington shotgun context, this is kind of an improved modified constriction, but there's nothing fancy going on inside. It does have some small porting on the outside, but several of you guys wanted to see this choke, this shotgun, and those Winchester shells put together. So we're going to find out what they're capable of. As for today's test, we're going to run it the same as we usually do. I've got the big sheet of paper at 40 yards, the chrono, so we can get our velocity, and the templates that we can lay up over our results. I've got some decent hopes for this combination, but we may just be a little limited with the touch more open constriction that choke has, combined with a pretty basic Super X shell. But you don't know until you try it, so let's take our shot and see what we can get. Okay, so that shell gave us 1186 through the chrono. Boss claim is 1210. So from our 24-inch barrel plus a little bit of choke sticking out the end, we weren't terribly far off from their claim. I mean, that's what, 24 feet per second below their claim? So we're definitely in the ballpark, and that's perfectly fine for a 15 pellet loaded double aught out of that particular setup. So looking fine for a velocity, but how did they actually pattern through that Carlson's Buckshot choke down at 40? Alright, so here is our 40-yard paper, and we see some pretty interesting looking results. The white dot was the point of aim, so we obviously patterned a little bit high. I think that choke patterned a touch high last time we tested it as well, through my 1187, but it could just be the scope being sighted in for slugs, obviously, in this scenario. But we still kept all 15 pellets out of the shell on the target, so we can see our entire pattern here. And it goes a little bit all over the place. Our core was obviously right up here above the white dot, but it's nothing overly tight necessarily. But we strung pellets all the way over to the right edge of the paper, all the way over here to the left edge, and one way down here at the bottom as well. So the flyers are a big factor in that kind of a pattern. And even our core area isn't particularly even either. It's not overly tight, but you've got plenty enough pellets through there to do the job. I can tell you that just by looking at it. I did measure. We have a 33-inch wide by 35-inch tall pattern, but we had 14 inches for the main majority of the pattern that's in the center of your screen right now. Left to right on there is 14 inches, so that is not bad. It's not even, but it's not bad. Overall, I'm not really super impressed with that pattern, to be honest with you. It's fine, it's gonna be perfectly usable, but so far it kind of seems like that Carlson's Buckshot choke is a little bit on the mediocre side. It might perform a little better than a stock full choke does, but I don't think, at least not from my testing so far, that it's gonna blow you away or really outperform anything like a Kicks Buckshot choke, because they have really shown us some great results here recently, that's for sure. But overall, it's okay. I was hoping for a little bit more uniform of a spread and not have these flyers down here, but that isn't exactly what we saw. But I guess let's throw a couple templates up. We'll have to put them high on the paper since we patterned high to give it the benefit of the doubt, but let's see what it looks like a little bit better than just a big sheet of paper. First up, we have a 10-inch circle. We have a definite 6 within there, and this one on the very bottom left, as the template kind of wiggles around, it kind of is half in and half out. So you can count that as number 7 if you wish. So roughly 6 or so pellets in a 10-inch circle at 40. I mean, that's plenty good enough for a loaded double-aught, but you can obviously see that void I was talking about a second ago right in the middle of the core there as well. Not exactly what you want to see, but you've got enough there to compensate for it. But let's throw some animal templates up and see what it would look like if you hunted with it. Next up, we have our deer template. Again, obviously we have to hold it high to at least give the pattern a usable chance anyway. And yeah, you would have absolutely covered that deer in pellets, that's for sure. You would have hit just about everything from the shoulder all the way back, probably a little farther than what you would like to. So would that deer have gone very far, if anywhere at all? Nope, you would have absolutely recovered it, I would say. So is it good enough to hunt with? Yep, it definitely is. Is this the best buckshot pattern we've seen for deer hunting purposes? No, not even close. And me personally, I like to see a little bit tighter and a more condensed spread than that, because I would ideally want most, if not all, of my pellets right through the lungs area. And this combo didn't really do that. Now, if you're somebody that's going to be driving deer, running them with dogs, something like that, that might be what you're looking for. It's going to give you a little bit more wiggle room. If you got to take a running shot, it's going to do the job. So for those guys, that might be perfect. For me, it's still just a little bit all over the place. I would like to see it a little more condensed down than that. And here is the pig template, and it's pretty well the same story. If you wanted to hog hunt with this combo, you would be more than capable, that's for sure. And obviously, if you wanted to, or had a chance to take a shot on a predator, it could do the job out to 40 yards for that as well. And it might be pretty decent for that if you wanted to or had to use double-aught. Little more leeway, but you've got more pellets in the shell, being a 15 pellet load over a 9 pellet, so you might fill in a couple of those little gaps in your pattern. That might be good for those scenarios as well. Overall, is this a bad pattern? No, it's far from the worst we've seen. It clearly is absolutely capable of getting the job done. Is it the best pattern we've seen? Also, no, not by a long shot. I was hoping for a little bit more condensed and a little bit more of a uniform spread. That's not exactly what we saw here. So as of right now, with the handful of tests I've done with that Carlson's buckshot choke, I still have yet to find a shell that it actually performs vastly better than anything else. If you run your stock full choke, the pattern is probably going to be pretty similar to this based on what we've seen previously. But we have not tried something like a triple-aught pellet through that choke yet, so that might be the ticket. A little bigger pellet, a little more open of a choke. I don't know. We'll see what happens as we continue to test it. Overall, this is a fine result, but not exactly the result I was looking for or hoping to see anyway. But it would still do the job, and for some people, that's all they need, is something that's gonna do the job. Alright y'all, well, what did you think about that result right there? I think we pretty well covered it. It's a perfectly fine pattern, but I wouldn't call it anything over the top impressive either. It would absolutely do the job if you wanted to hunt with that combo, but it's probably going to be for the guy that prefers or needs a little bit more of a broad spread than anything else. Because it's not the most even or uniform pattern, but you've got a lot of pellets to work with right across the center there. So for some people, that's going to be pretty much exactly what they're looking for, or what they expect from their buckshot load as far as patterns go. And these particular Super X loads, the 3-inch 15 pellet shells, don't seem to have a wad in them. I've tested them before, I haven't found a wad in them, and it kind of seems like something that's a little bit new that Winchester's starting to do, because some of their Super X stuff does have wads, others does not. Just here recently, I moved to a brand new box of Super X 9 pellet double-aught loads, and they did have a wad, versus where they did not before. And the Herders, which is just rebranded Winchester for Cabela's and Bass Pro, does have a wad. So maybe a little bit of a transitional phase right now. Maybe if there's ever a wad that's put in these particular shells, that might tune them in a little better than that. But these ones did not have one. So it's just a non-plated buffered load of buckshot. So even though it wasn't exactly what I was hoping we would see, it is still a usable result for sure. But leave all your thoughts down below. Is that about what you expected to see? Were you a little surprised one way or the other? together. Have you tested any of these 3-inch 15 pellet Super X shells or a Carlson's Buckshot choke? And if so, what kind of results have you seen from them? Is that a combo or a pattern you would ever actually use for hunting purposes or anything else? Or would you prefer to see it a little tighter, a little more even, a little more condensed than that? And maybe what other shells or choke combos do you want to see with either those Super X 15 pellet loads or that 700 Buckshot choke? Leave all your thoughts down below. But with that being said, I've got some more testing to get done for you guys, so I'm going to get back to it. As always, you have the channel Instagram as well as the mailbox where you can send stuff if you'd like. All that information will be in the description if you're interested in it, but I'm going to get back to it, so I'll see y'all in the next one.